Hello, everyone. Please let please let me know if you can hear me. Put a one in the chat. A very, very, very happy New Year to everyone. Thank you so much for 2025. I really do hope that you enjoyed your holiday, that you got to rest, that you were able to ring in the new year in a positive way. I had a fantastic New Year. It's actually the first time I went partying for New Year. Like in a long time. I think I've only ever been out like partying for New Year like once. And that's really just because London is so cold and expensive. Thank you so much for being patient with me. First of all, this morning when I got up, I realized that I've missed quite a few things and that I need to update my slides. And then I was having upload issues all day, right up until now. So I kept on pushing back the podcast and pushing back the podcast and pushing back the podcast because it just was not working. And I think the reason why is because there's just this upload issues. I'm in a different area. So yeah, that's just my lesson. Whatever, this happens every single time I travel. If you've been with me for long enough, it's just a lesson that I have to learn. If I'm ever in a new place, I have to just make sure that everything is working before I do a podcast. But anyway, we are finally here, and I'm so happy to be back on the podcast. Had a good break and ready to get straight into everything. Thank you for all your messages on my post, by the way. Right. Yeah, you can hear me. Thank goodness for that. I was literally like, I was literally crying, like, are we even going to have a podcast today? Because I keep pushing it back and I hope they're not annoyed. Don't worry, problem sorted. Church Nelly, Happy New Year to you. Member for 38 months. You've been in the trenches with us, Church Nelly. You know, I really do think that this is going to be a fantastic year for the Sussexes. Don't believe the drama. Don't believe the BS. And you know what? We're gonna have some drama too, but this is the first time I'm really just feeling like whatever drama comes, the Sussexes are ready. Whatever drama comes, we know that we've been there, done that, and that we're ready to face whatever it is. So I'm ready for the drama, but I'm also ready for all the amazing things that are going to come for Harry and Meghan. I wouldn't say the same thing for the other royals. I think their year is going to be a mess. I predict an absolute messy year for the royals. In fact, before we even get into it, I'm going to put my predictions in. Since this is the first podcast of the year, so I know which podcast it is, January 3rd, so I can come back to it. I'm going to make some predictions. So let's start with some Harry and Meghan predictions. I think that Harry and Meghan are going to do at least 2 overseas tours. And I don't know if I can predict which countries, but I think that they will do at least 2 tours that will be very successful. I think that Meghan will finally start doing international shipping for As Ever. I think that... what do I think Harry will do? I think Harry will do something that surprises us all. Like something really out of the box. Do you remember the little skit that he did for Christmas with Stephen Colbert? I'm thinking Harry might actually shock us. Like, I don't know, a movie feature, Spare Part 2, something just totally left field. That's my 3 predictions for the Sussexes. As Ever, international shipping. Harry does something that shocks us all. That's just different for him. and 2 tours for the Sussexes. Now, the other royals. Oh, and I also predict that Harry will win his case for the Daily Fowl. The other royals, I predict that there will be a giant expose regarding the royals' finances. That's my first guess for them. My second guess is that there will be more protests, and it won't just be the Republic, not my king folk. I actually think there will be more public protest. I also think, and this will also affect the royals, I do not believe that Keir Starmer is going to make it to the end of the year. There is some suggestion that he could be replaced, most likely by Wes Streeting or something. I don't think that Keir Starmer will make it to the end of the year, and that may have a knock-on effect on the royals as well. I think there will be greater calls for scrutiny about how the royals operate. And you could see at the very, very end of the year, the way people reacted to the walkabout, the Christmas walkabout, and the fact that the royal kids were getting gifts and stuff. I was actually quite shocked at the reaction, at just how strong the reaction was. And it just shows that these people, you can't buy bots. You can't buy bots for everything. They didn't know that people were going to react so negatively. And it's not people within royal spaces, it's members of the general public who don't even listen to channels like mine, who don't really listen to any royal media, were like, hang on a minute, what do you mean you're giving out gifts to royal kids? What do you mean people are lining up to see you in the freezing cold when they're poor? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Did they hire the crowds to come? The optics were just all off. And they didn't hire enough bots fast enough to cover up the amount of noise that was being levied against them. So I think you're going to see a lot more pushback from the royals towards the royals this year. I think people are going to start getting more confident asking questions and demanding. Also, I think there will be greater demands for a more serious conversation about why we're paying as much as we're paying. I also think that there will be a lot more scrutiny towards William and Kate, both regarding their work ethic and also potentially potential fractures in their marriage. I think people will also continue to ask questions about exactly what happened to Kate, because I feel that many people aren't convinced that we had the full story. Electra, you said, I think one of them will be an Australia overseas tour where they were invited, weren't they? They were invited. And as a couple of you have mentioned in the chat, I think there will actually be continued questions about Kate's illness in particular. Helen, you said there were old people lining up to greet the royals on Christmas Day in their wheelchairs. Poor souls must have been dragged out of their nursing home to make up the numbers. Well, I mean, listen, that area, it wouldn't be unusual to find people like that to come and, line up for the royals. But yeah, there were some people who were like, did they get them from the nursing home? Did they get them from the local church? Granted, they did the same walk every single year. So it's actually the one place where I could genuinely believe that people showed up, to be honest. Like, I don't want to make everything a conspiracy. If it was anywhere else, I'd be like, yeah, they dragged the children out of school, or, but this is the same place they do the same walkabout every single year. Like, people are going to come. And if you look at the crowd, it is the royalist crowd at that darn walkabout. And it's probably the only place you will see a crowd like that, to be honest. But having said that, I do think in all other places, you're going to see a lot less crowds coming out for the royals. And it's been happening over the last 2 years. I am particularly keen, just to be petty, to see what the turnout for trooping is, because last year they couldn't escape it. You had now, because those Not My King folk are everywhere, those are the images that came out of trooping, of those yellow signs. And it was a relatively warm day on trooping. It's not like it was pouring down or anything like that. And people really did not show up. So I'm curious to see what trooping is going to look like this year. Okay, yeah. Those are my predictions. You put your predictions in the chat and you can let me know what you think is coming. Right, also a minor update on the Sussex team, which I think is going to expand even more this year. That's another prediction that I have. Sussexes will continue to expand their team and get great people because they hire people that actually know how to do their jobs. No nepotism here. And also no leaking. We don't have to worry about leaking in the Sussex camp. So this from James Holt, who actually came over with Harry and Meghan from the UK. James Holt will remain a senior philanthropic advisor for the couple and Archewell Philanthropies, supporting their humanitarian trips overseas in 2026, the Sussex spokesperson said. From my first project with Prince Harry 8 years ago to improve mental health support for soldiers in the British military, to our recent work helping injured children in Gaza, he has consistently challenged me to think bigger about how we can make a difference. From the moment I met Meghan, I recognized a kindred spirit, someone who finds joy even in difficult moments and connects authenticity with people regardless of circumstance. Above everything else, the work we've done together to support families affected by online harm will remain the most meaningful of my professional life. These families are extraordinary and they inspire me every single day. You know, just this week, there's been a big story because there was a girl who posted a picture of herself on Twitter and men were asking Gork, which is the AI program on Twitter, to undress her. And what's interesting is that Elon, who obviously now owns Twitter, I'm never calling it X, he puts all these fixes in Gork to stop it from saying horrible things about him, but he can't put any fixes to stop it from doing things like this. So I think that, and I would hope that Archewell's work is going to go even further, because there are just so many other issues with this, and it's not just, you know, young people are being affected, even grown adults. And unfortunately, this issue is very gendered. Is gendered, and also it's women and children being most affected, and mostly males who are the perpetrators in these crimes. So I think it really shows how smart and how in tune with the world is that Harry and Meghan are. So after 5 incredible years in Los Angeles, it's time for my family to return to... Oh, sorry. Above everything else, the work we've done together to support families affected by online harm will remain most meaningful of my professional life. These families are extraordinary and they inspire me every day. After 5 incredible years in Los Angeles, it's time for my family to return to London. When I pass the baton to the team leading Archewell Philanthropies in the coming months, I'll do so with immense pride and optimism for what lies ahead. I'll miss my colleagues deeply, and I'm grateful to Harry and Meghan for everything they've done for me and for the countless people we've worked to support. James Holt. A lovely statement. Lovely, lovely statement. I think it just shows the quality of people that Harry and Meghan have on their team. Meanwhile, you've got on first of all, I don't really know who works closely with William other than Jason the Rat Knopf. And then you've got, you know, the likes of Natasha Archer, who worked with Kate, unprivating her account, and then we find out what? That she was following all of Meghan's friends. That was the wildest thing of 2025, I think. Us finding out that all this time Kate's stylist was following everybody on Meghan's team. Copy Kate indeed. Like, we actually had that confirmed and we weren't crazy. Okay, on to the next thing. This lady right here, speaking facts. Oh, no, not Kate. Not Kate. Oh gosh, did it not upload properly? Don't tell me that it did not load properly. Oh, here it is. So, those of you who don't live in the UK may not have heard of the infamous post office scandal or the post office scam. This affected so many people. I'm trying to just like find my words so I can, I guess, explain what, like, kind of what happened. So basically, in the UK, we have Royal Mail, and they are the primary, I guess you could say, the primary way in which we post mail from the UK. So if you want to own a post office, it has to be through Royal Mail. And over the course of, I would say, maybe a decade and a half, you had, so if you own a post office, you're called a postmaster, right? And long story short, the system, the postmaster system, made innocent people, you can go and look this up yourself because it's just way too long for me to even explain. It made innocent people, the postmaster system made innocent people look like they were doing fraudulent accounting when they weren't. I know that sounds insane. How does that happen? How does the system make you look like a fraud when you're not committing fraud? But that, in a nutshell, is what essentially happened. And there were some people that actually went to jail. I think one of the people who went to jail was actually a pregnant woman. And this went on. I think out of those post, I think there was like 900 people affected. I think almost 700 were prosecuted. There's also now they're looking at they've only just started out paying compensation. So this was a terrible scandal. Like, imagine you've decided, I'm going to open up a post office, essentially like opening a franchise, and then the very system makes you look like a fraud. It's just, you've never even heard anything like this in your life. Anyway, one of those individuals who was caught up was this young lady, 92 years young. This 92 years young lady called Betty Brown, now the oldest surviving victim of the scam. She was given a medal for the New Year's Honours List. This to me actually just shows how completely and utterly out of touch and ridiculous. I've very innocently gone to start a business. I've now had my whole life turned upside down because I've been wrongly prosecuted for a fraud I did not commit. And you give me a medal. I don't want a medal. I want compensation. What do I need a medal from the royals for? Anyway, listen to what she had to say.
You're angry because you feel you should never have had to be in this position of fighting the post office.
Yes, very honoured, very humbled, and very angry that someone should be given a distinguished honour like this for being victimised and for all the wrong reasons that I think you should get a medal for. You shouldn't get a medal for being victimised. You shouldn't be getting a medal for being robbed by your own government in your own country. What kind of government are sitting up there giving medals out for the wrongdoings? Crazy. Absolutely.
Does receiving this honour lessen the anger and frustration that you feel a little bit?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. It just gives me hope that for the rest of every one of the so-called masters, they will have recognition too. And some of the anger and the frustration and the injustice taken away from them. Yes, it will ease a bit. Yes. Yes.
Angry.
I mean, if it's me, you can just throw your medal away, because I don't want a medal. I want compensation. And it's interesting. She says the government there. She doesn't actually mention the royals. No one stepped in until it was too late, and so many people had been affected. So many people had lost money. Some people had been prosecuted, sent to jail. Like, how does this happen in the UK? We're meant to have such a robust system, and in an institution like the goddamn post office. I think a medal is an absolute insult, if you ask me. It's an insult. And I don't think the royals said anything about this particular issue. Many people victimized, nothing done. Anyway, a not so happy New Year start for William. This article in the paper. Now, another prediction that I had, well, I forgot to say this at the very beginning, is I do think that some parts of the press are going to start getting a little bit more brave and start writing more things like this. I feel like the layer of protection is getting slowly chipped away. And that's partly because I think the press have realized that there is actually a thirst for this kind of writing. So let's have a read of this. Once I take away the paywall. Oh my goodness. Are you serious? I'm not paying to read this. Like, let me take away the paywall. Give me one sec, folks. Let's have a look here. Maybe I can read it here. Okay, I think this has worked. Has it worked? What's it doing now? Give me a sec, folks. I don't. Doesn't seem to be working. Okay, let's try this. Let's try this again. Ooh, maybe it doesn't want us to read it at all. Okay, I think maybe it's actually blocking me from taking away the paywall. Let's see. Oh, yes. Okay, here we go. Just took a while. So William has won, has he? The victory over... Oh, no, it doesn't. Okay, do you know what? I think it's actually insisting that I... Well, let's try this one more time. Let's try it one more time. Is it going to work now? Okay, I think it's going to work. I think it will. So William has won. His victory over the media is unremarked upon by those he has vanquished. They are settled into their chosen role of offering up largely unchallenged coverage of the king in waiting. It was once so different. In October, The Prince of Wales told the comedian Eugene Levy in an interview on Apple TV that the media has been insatiable when he was growing up. They wanted every bit of detail they could absorb, and they were in everything, literally everywhere. They would know things, they'd be everywhere, and if you let that creep in, the damage it can do to your family life is something that I vowed would never happen to my family. Oh, really? While you were briefing? Literally in bed with Rupert Murdoch and his cronies? Are you sure, William? Sounds like you're lying to me. And briefing against your brother and sister-in-law? That princely vow was on display at university, where he gave his first TV interview to me in 2004, in a wide-ranging conversation about life at St. Andrews, in which he confessed to being stumped when a grandmother asked him in the street if he knew a good place to buy underwear. The student prince emphasized how he intended to approach his future away from the Scottish town. I really do want to be in control of my life, he told me. I hate losing control. Oh, don't we know that, William? And you lose control often, according to all of the briefing we've heard. This has been William's lodestar ever since, applying to all aspects of life, especially his dealings with the media. After a blip a decade ago when he was briefly nicknamed work-shy Wills by the tabloids, he now basks in a level of benign attention rarely afforded to public figures. I mean, he's still very much work-shy Wills. The dominant reason is access and the media's fear of losing it. It's William's trump card, and he's a willing operator. He once temporarily froze out someone who asked questions of his advisors that weren't to his liking. To stay on the inside track, the reporting of William suffers too often from the avoidance of difficult topics such as royal finances and the media's own conveniently short-term memory. Exactly. It's like one thing comes out and then they move on very, very quickly. For example, articles about his family move to Forest Lodge, their latest Windsor residence, contained the promise that this would be their forever home. However, when the Kensington Palace apartment was refurbished for William and Kate in 2014 at a cost of $4.5 million to the taxpayer, the couple's spokesman at the time stressed it would remain their main home for many, many years to come. And that hasn't happened. Unless it's Andrew Mountbatten Windsor in the dock, questions about money tend to command fewer column inches than articles exploring what motivated William to grow a beard and the nature of the statement made by Kate's fedora. When William visited South Africa on an environmental mission last year, the trip could have been overshadowed by a focus on his personal wealth. I mean, I don't even remember that trip, but I do remember the investigation by Channel 4's dispatches. I don't even remember William going to South Africa. See, you remember the drama more than you remember whatever it is they're doing to make it look like they're working. And this is the struggle that they're going to have now. They can't continue to keep giving William an easy ride. You know why? Because giving William an easy ride doesn't get them column inches. Making life difficult for the other royals actually does. So the real question is, how long does this continue? I don't think this is going to go on for very long, especially after they saw the way people reacted to that Christmas walk. I would be very surprised, and I think they'd be very silly to have that Christmas walk again this year. That's another prediction I have. Oh, let's throw in another prediction. That might be the last Christmas walk that you saw. Now, we just touched upon the Wales' homes, Kate and William's homes just then. There was apparently an intruder that broke into Kensington Palace's grounds twice on the holidays. Now, I want you to bear in mind that they have moved to Forest Lodge, right? That requires elevated security, so much so that they've had to cut off access to the public to be able to keep the Wales safe where they've gone. And members of the general public in that area are not happy. So before I get onto this story, let me just go through some of your comments. By the way, I'm so happy to see a lot of people who I feel like I don't always see. Hey, Joan Garcia. Hey, R.R. Carter. Obviously, my time zones have changed dramatically. So I'm seeing a whole bunch of people than what I usually see. Oh, yes, Helen. People unalive themselves because of the post office scandal. And you want to give a medal? I mean, a medal isn't going to bring someone back from the dead. A medal isn't going to bring someone back from the dead. Like, what is that? I just find that insulting. Cookies and Cream, you said the calls of dissatisfaction with that family are definitely going to grow louder. They stupidly opened up Pandora's box with their relentless attacks against the Sussexes, especially Meghan. Exactly. That exactly. Patricia, you said William wants to have his cake and eat it too. He wants them to bash Harry and Meghan, but doesn't want to give his side in return. Yeah. He can't take what he wants to be dished out against two other people who are minding their business. I mean, I hope that they've bought oxygen tanks and blood pressure medicine for this year because they're going to need it. Like, if they thought last year was something for Harry and Meghan, I think this year is full speed ahead. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Meghan at Paris Fashion Week for the whole week or a couple more shows. She'll probably be going to Balenciaga again. It wouldn't even surprise me if they unveiled her as a new face of Balenciaga. Another prediction. I'm gonna have to write all these down and put them in a post. I think that this year we will see Meghan as the face of a major fashion brand. Do you know what I'm actually gonna make? I'm gonna make a 2026 Royal bingo card. Yes. And then we'll compare by the end of the year. Okay, but let's have a look at this. Apparently, an intruder on Kensington Palace grounds. So, for years, there's been debate about where Prince William actually lives. Few people believe that he was living full-time or even part-time at Adelaide Cottage. There are always stories about people seeing William's helicopter fly into London, where he presumably stays at Kensington Palace some nights or most nights. There's also the very weird body language whenever William and Kate show up at certain events. I distinctly remember they showed up separately at one event, and the way George was interacting with William, it was like it was the first time he'd seen him that day. Like his parents don't live in the same house. It was that kind of energy. Anyway, now the Wells family has declared Forest Lodge to be their latest so-called forever home. They've received millions of pounds worth of security upgrades, and they grabbed 150 acres of public parkland. But they also still retain their apartment at Kensington Palace. Okay, for what then? That was also supposed to be their forever home, remember? Well, just before Christmas, an intruder broke into the Kensington Palace ground. Twice. An intruder twice got into the grounds of of William and Kate's official London residence in the run-up to Christmas. Derek Egan, 39, has been charged with trespassing on a protected site at Kensington Palace on the 21st and 23rd. Now, how did the same person get in twice? He was carrying a heavy rucksack and was arrested by officers from the Metropolitan Police's Royal and Specialist Protection Command in the grounds of the residence on both days, according to The Sun, which first reported on the security breach. The Prince and Princess are understood to have not been at the palace on either occasion. After his arrest on December 23rd, he was remanded in custody and appeared before Bromley Magistrates Court on Christmas Eve. He appeared at Westminster Magistrates Court on New Year's Eve. He reportedly pleaded guilty to both charges and will be sentenced next week. He is said to have been caught after scaling fences on the public side of the palace near the entrance to Hyde Park before being spotted on CCTV. Di Davis, the former head of Metropolitan Police's Royal and Specialist Protection Branch, told The Sun, the fact that he repeated the offending after being given bail, given the nature of it, gives serious cause for concern. The police must work out what level of danger the royal family were in, and based on the charges, why on earth was he given bail? See, now, first of all, that is a good question. This is why I keep saying Harry cannot trust these people with security, because even the royals that are apparently getting security aren't getting great security. It would be one thing if he breached the fence once, but twice, and the same person. And I don't think the article says, what did he have in that rucksack? Was it anything dangerous? What was he planning on doing? Any attempt to get into Kensington Palace needs careful investigation into the motive, any mental health concerns, and if the person is fixated on a royal. If this person wasn't already on a list, he certainly will be now. You never know what someone may do when they attempt to break in. Oh, you know what that sounds like? It sounds like the royals most definitely need security at all times. Every single royal. You don't get to pick and choose which royal gets it. Of course, they're all in danger. In fact, I have said repeatedly on this podcast, security is the only thing, as far as I'm concerned, the only thing that should be paid for when it comes to royals. Because you can't have someone thinking that they can use a high-profile figure as collateral, but that goes for any government official. It's not like I'm saying that the royals are particularly special, but we shouldn't have to pay for anything else, and they shouldn't get to live on massive estates. They can live in smaller estates that don't need the level of security protection that somewhere like Forest Lodge requires. And in fact, the less in the public eye the royals are, and the more normal lives they live, eventually, the less security they're going to have or need to have, and the less money we'll have to pay for them. There are still a number of royals living at Kensington Palace, so any intrusion, of course, is concerning. I think there's some other minor royals that live there. I'm glad this man has been caught. This shows the police can never be caught off guard when protecting our royal family. Well, they were caught off guard here. It's bizarre to act as if the Welleses are the only royals with a place inside KP. Eugenie lives in one of the cottages adjacent to the main palace. Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know that's where Eugenie lives. All the Kents still live in Kensington Palace too, as do the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester. Were any of them in residence when this man scaled the fence twice? Incidentally, the security expert quoted here, Day Davis, recently wrote a piece in the Daily Fail about how Prince William and Kate need all of that security for Forest Lodge because they're so important and under such extreme threat. Davies argued that no one is allowed to question the Forest Lodge move or the need to grab all of that parkland. Like, does it not occur to any of these people that William and Kate simply could have chosen a different forever home, much more conducive to the kind of security they need? And even with all of that security, some guy off the street broke into palace grounds twice. Well, to be honest, I don't know. I don't actually know that it would be that difficult. Like, you creep in late at night, wearing black. Yeah, you'll probably get quite close. Would I advise it? Absolutely not. Because you're pretty much asking to be shot if you're seen. The security people aren't going to risk it. They don't know what you have on you, what you're trying to do, or why. Not anything that I would advise anybody do. Rather stupid. But somebody managed to do it, and they did it twice, and were released on bail the first time. Harry cannot trust these people. Now, the other side to this, you could theorize that this is all just a conspiracy and this is all just very convenient and this might get used as another excuse for them to move. Maybe. I don't know. Some people might say that. If it is true though, and this genuinely was an intruder, I find that to be quite scary because it just proves the level of security that is, first of all, the level of security that is needed, and secondly, that Harry cannot trust being safe with these people because things slip through the net. There was the other story that we read out a couple of months ago where someone who was part of this far right group and was very balls deep in this group, even I think taking part in their activities in the US, worked at Buckingham Palace. Granted, that's exactly the type of person I'd probably expect to work at Buckingham Palace, but all this information was out there, you know. These days, the security services are looking and listening to everything. You're not just going to be able to walk around willy-nilly being part of these very, very extremist groups and think that, you know, nobody's going to catch on to that. But somehow, and then they usually do, but somehow this person who was working in the thick of the palace, they didn't manage to catch that. Interesting. Okay, just wanna. Wendy, you said, I hope justice for the children at Centre Ballet is finally brought to court, with Sophie and her side tricks are held accountable for their takeover and mismanagement of funds of the Centre Ballet charity. I didn't put them in my predictions just because I feel like it's going to take a little bit longer before we actually get justice. Having said that, do I think more of Sophie Chanduka's lies are going to unravel in 2026? Yes. I would honestly give it a few years before we even get to court. Honestly, I don't think that's going to happen in 2026. All right. Right, let's get on to this story. This, I mean, it doesn't surprise me at this point what's new. But I don't think the person that wrote this list or caused this chaos expected the reaction that this got. I have been looking at a lot of non-royal related outlets, and people were not happy about this so-called list where Meghan was put on a list as the most disliked person over men who are actual abusers. So why women like Meghan Sussex are judged more harshly than violent men. A crowdsourced celebrity poll placed Meghan Sussex, Prince Harry, and several other women with no criminal records at or near the top of the list, alongside men accused or convicted of serious violence, including assault and trafficking. The contrast was so stark that even casual readers stopped to question it. And I'm so glad that people are actually questioning this, because it's insane. Public figures accused of nothing more than being disliked ranked above individuals linked to documented harm. The result did not spark consensus. It sparked disbelief. What followed was not anger towards those women, but confusion over why they had been grouped there at all. And I think people who publish things like this are forgetting the wider political zeitgeist that we're now in. Because I think a lot of people, when they saw this, it wasn't so much about, okay, why is Meghan specifically there above all these men who are abusers? Why do women in general seem to get more flack than men who are abusers? What the Ranker poll actually measures. The rankings come from Ranker, which relies on open voting without safeguards or moral standards. As of December 8, 2025, more than 1.4 million votes from roughly 100,000 users ranked 162 celebrities based on irritation rather than misconduct. The structure collapses everything into a single scale. Serious allegations and personal dislike carry the same weight, placing documented violence beside subjective annoyance and reducing real harm to a popularity contest. So it was most disliked Diddy, Meghan, Ellen DeGeneres, Jada Pinkett Smith, Oprah Winfrey, Harry at number 6, Bill Cosby, and then Chrissy Teigen. So they had Harry, a man who's never been accused of anything, more annoying than Bill Cosby, a man with, I don't even know, all the allegations and charges against him. And then Oprah, Jada Pinkett Smith, Ellen DeGeneres, above Bill Cosby. Like, these people are insane. And I know that Jada Pinkett Smith is only there because people feel some kind of way about her and Will Smith's marriage. Well, guess what? That's her and Will Smith's marriage, and Will Smith ain't divorced her. So mind your business. Earlier versions of the list intensified that problem. Meghan Sussex and Prince Harry appear near the top alongside men accused of convicted SA and trafficking and abuse. Viewers struggle to understand why public figures with no criminal accusations are being judged in the same moral category as people linked to serious harm. Since then, the ranking has shifted again. It now places such men as Sean Combs, Andrew Tate, Prince Andrew, and Bill Cosby firmly at the top. That change only reinforces the underlying issue. Meghan's earlier placement did not reflect misconduct, it reflected sexism, sustained by years of recycled tabloid narratives that condition audiences to respond with hostility rather than evidence. Exactly. Why violence is forgiven and women are punished. The top of the list exposed a familiar divide. Men associated with physical violence, SA, or exploitation appeared alongside women criticized for attitude, ambition, or visibility. Andrew Windsor, whose ties to Epstein sparked global outrage toward both him and the royal institution, has shielded him, now occupies the same cultural space as women disliked largely because of bigotry, internal bias, or false narratives. That contrast reveals how public judgment works. Society often treats male harm as a failing that time, silence, or status can smooth over. Oh, that is so well said. It treats female refusal as an unforgivable breach. And obviously, Meghan has topped the polls, like that by the idiots at YouGov and, all of this nonsense. I mean, the bigotry has just sunk to such extremes at this point. But you know what? Guess what? It hasn't worked. It hasn't worked despite everything they've thrown at her. And despite being so protected, guess who's sinking? Kate. Along with all her attempts to be relevant. So, when Kate returned to ITV last Christmas with Royal Carols Together at Christmas, the expectation was clear. A primetime spot on a free-to-air channel, weeks of promotion, and the full support of the royal press machine should have delivered a visible result. What followed instead was an awkward silence. Official viewing figures were slow to surface, headlines never materialized, and the program failed to feature among the most watched broadcasts of the festive period. In the media landscape that scrutinizes everything the Sussexes do, that absence determines examination. Listen, I promise you that the Harry Potter reruns at Christmas got more views than Kate Middleton's Carol. Free-to-air television still failed to deliver. That is actually a very good point. ITV is free-to-air. You actually have to pay for Netflix, which has gotten more expensive. You can pay people to what people would not pay to watch the Royals. Then this is what this is telling me. You actually have to pay to watch Meghan. ITV remains one of the most accessible broadcasters in the United Kingdom. Indeed, on TV and on iPlayer. Viewers do not need subscriptions, algorithms, or paid tiers to tune in. Royal Carols Together at Christmas aired on Christmas Eve in a prime slot backed by extensive previews and social media clips, yet it did not appear in the top 10 most watched programs for either Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. In fact, number one most viewed, obviously, was Charles' Speech. The Scarecrow's Wedding, got no idea what that is. Strictly Come Dancing Special was third. Michael McTighe's The Will, Call the Midwife, Gladiators, Christmas Special, Amanda Land, EastEnders, The 1% Club, and The Weakest Link, which is a game show. I don't even know what half of the others are. Gladiators, long-running TV show. Kate's Carol Extravaganza didn't cause a blip. Available figures from the UK's official television ratings body place the programme at roughly 42nd in the weekly viewing rankings. 42nd, with an estimated audience of between 2.6 and 3 million viewers. That figure sits below soaps, light entertainment, and repeat dramas that faced far less promotion. The outcome sits uneasily beside YouGov polls that label Kate Middleton the most popular royal, a status that once again did not translate into strong viewing numbers or demonstrable public engagement. And what this actually shows is that there is a very big gap between hype and reality, between what the media wants to say the royals are, between what the bots are saying the royals are, and what's actually going on. So in contrast, Meghan's Netflix special entered the top 10 in the UK, despite airing on a paid platform and despite her living outside of Britain. Tabloid outlets labelled that performance a failure within hours. Commentators dissected ratings, timing, and reach with forensic interest. I mean, do you know how many shows are on Netflix? I honestly think it is a blessing, even if you break the top 100 of what's airing on Netflix. Meghan managed to get into the top 10. It don't matter if she didn't get to number 1. The issue is not whether or not a televised carol service should dominate Christmas viewing. Many Britons skip royal programming altogether. The issue is consistency. Selective silence for one royal and open hostility towards another exposes a press corps more invested in narrative control than public truth. Oh, let me say that again. It exposes a press corps more invested in narrative control than public truth. Facts. Royal carols together at Christmas aired with every structural advantage, but still failed to make an impact. The refusal to acknowledge that fact speaks louder than the ratings themselves. Mic drop. Doesn't it just? It absolutely does just that. That's how Kate ended 2025. And now, you see, what's so interesting is I feel like for the first time in a long time, people are now really paying attention to the royals, but not in a way that they want people to. Now, because Kate and William do the bare minimum in terms of work, you now know what's coming for this year, right? The usual cycle. Kate will probably be at Wimbledon. They will be at Trooping. William will be at the football events and rugby. William will do Earthshot. Kate will do the Christmas Carol. Remembrance Day with the black outfits. Like, you literally just know the cycle now of what's coming. And if that's really all they're doing, the easy stuff, and people are barely interested in the other stuff, I hope they're burning lots of incense in that palace, is all I'm going to say. Right, let's get to your comments and then we'll wrap things up. If you're just coming in, Happy New Year, folks. It's going to be an interesting year. Blessings to everyone. We don't know what's going on with St. Barlow at the moment. We don't really even know what's going on the ground in terms of, are people getting access to things? The last we heard, much of the operations have slowed down or shut down. So I think stuff will slowly begin to come out this year, but I wouldn't place your bets on any type of court case this year. But the St. Barlow financial reports have to be published, and I don't believe that they are raising a decent amount of money. I think they're actually burning through money, and that might be what Harry and his team are waiting for, because they created this whole narrative. Sophie Chandauka and her minions tried to create this narrative that Harry, the founder, the reason all of the money was being donated was getting in the way of donations and running Centre Barley to the ground. That's the narrative that Sophie Chandauka actually tried to create. And that she was actually able to fundraise. So we're going to see when the next Centre Barley reports come out. All righty. Gonna end this there, folks. Thank you so much once again. I do apologize. My gosh, I had to push back the podcast so many times today, but that issue that we were having, I believe it's sorted out. So no worries, should be all good going forward. Enjoy the rest of your day, my lovelies, and I will see you tomorrow. 2026 is going to be a fantastic year. Ciao.